Hello and welcome to Steve's Vintage Model Builds. Welcome back to another kit review. And today we're traveling back through the mists of time on this channel, even farther than we have in the past. At least as far as we can confirm. So, prepare yourselves for a fun, interesting, and mysterious adventure. Okay, here we go. Enough of that. Now you see why I didn't go into theater or acting. In any case, so here we go. Got a package today. Yeah, a very nicely packaged package. Nice and sturdy. Hard to believe it came from Amazon. Well, I ordered it from Amazon anyways. And they sent it. Okay, so let's take a look and see what we got here. So there's lots going on here at the channel. Gonna have an after build review and reveal on the Cal 3-piece drag combo. Drag racing combo. Automobile drag racing combo. Okay. So, let's take a look. And they still managed to crush it. Oh my goodness. Look at that. They still managed to crush it. Can you see that? Anyways, okay, here we've got a model kit. There we go. And a very interesting model kit. This is the Atlantis, obviously, Boeing B-29 Superfortress. And as we see here, the most powerful long-range heavy bomber of World War II. And it indicates here clear cockpit and observation blisters, 4 movable propellers, 3 cockpit crew figures at 1/120 scale. Those might be interesting. Box top artwork suitable for framing. And actually it would be if it showed everything. But it's still a very nice box art. No complaints about that. Okay, and this kit includes the Atlantis swivel display base. Revolves to any position. Okay, see that? Okay, now, before we get into that, they indicate it's a level 2, 14 plus, 1/120 scale model, Atlantis catalog number H208. Features, length is 10 inches, wingspan 13.75 inches. So it's going to take up a bit of space. I think that's going to hang from the ceiling probably. And number of parts 44, so it's not too much there. Molded in color, decals or water slide. There's a brief note here. History of your Boeing B-29 Superfortress. The part that the B-29 Superfortress played in the history in the Pacific will be remembered for a long time. From the time of their first raid over Japan on June 15, 1944, until the last atom bomb was dropped on Nagasaki August 9, 1945. The giant planes dropped 171,060 tons of bombs on their targets, and flew 100 million miles in doing it. The B-29's advanced design allowed it to remain in service in various roles throughout the 1950s. The B-29 was the only aircraft that ever used nuclear weapons in combat, as far as we know. The B-29 had a wingspan of 141 feet 3 inches. It was 99 feet long, 27.9 inches, or 27 feet 9 inches high. Gross weight of the plane was 135,000 pounds. Bomb load was 10 tons. It had 4 18-cylinder Wright Cyclone engines, equipped with dual turbochargers that were rated at 2,200 horsepower each. Cruising speed was set at about 300 miles per hour, while top speed was about 375 miles per hour. They indicate a paint guide here. Black, flesh, light brown, red, green, yellow. They don't recommend a paint manufacturer. It says here there's decals for 3 versions. And we have a lovely picture of the completed model on the bottom of the box. So, let me turn this the other way so you can see it. Quite a beautiful aircraft, very big aircraft. Obviously developed for long range. And alright, so we'll talk a little bit about the B-29 Superfortress. Between 1943 and 1946, nearly 4,000 were built. At the time, the cost of design and production was $3 billion US dollars. That's the equivalent of 51 billion in 2022. And it far exceeded the 1.9 billion cost of the Manhattan Project, which of course developed the atomic bombs. The B-29 program was the most expensive of the war, and beyond military use, after the war, a few were also used by a company called Stratovision, which was a television company, and their idea was to put television transmitters up in airplanes, like a lot like what they do with Wi-Fi now. Thought that was an original idea, did ya? So basically, they used these long-range flying aircraft. You know, they could stay in the air for hours and hours at a time. And of course, back in the early 1950s, you know, in the 1950s in particular, you know, TV wasn't 24 hours a day. You know, in the biggest cities, they would usually sign off at midnight, if not before. And a lot of other television stations, they didn't have enough programming to fill all the time anyways. It was too expensive to produce and put on. So anyways, those of my age and some others will remember the test pattern and the tone signal, and we'll also remember the national anthems being played in Canada and the United States as the station went off the air, and to come back in the morning, usually around 6 a.m., depending on where they were and what they did. So The Royal Air Force also flew some B-29s, or one B-29 with the service name Washington from 1950 to 1954, and it was taken over by the jet-powered Canberra, and I guess that was that was used as their long-range and reconnaissance, as well as bomber. It was officially retired June 21st, 1960. And, through its life, it was adapted to many different uses, everything from tankers to transports to all sorts of different things. So, okay, and so for this particular one, it's actually I said we're going to travel back in time. This was actually a Revell kit, tooled in 1954. 1954, which was a good year, I hear. I wasn't around for it yet, but I think my parents were probably getting started. Anyways, so there you go, 1954, and all the way up. So usually it's Revell that does the reboxings, but in this case it's Atlantis that's done the reboxing. And as we see here, 120 scale, 1/120 scale, and so beyond its regular service history as a long-range bomber, many people know. I mean, unless you've lived under a rock or went to an elite U.S. university. It was the B-29 Superfortresses that dropped the atomic bombs on Japan, that brought an ultimate end to that phase of the Second World War. Enola Gay is very well known as the one to have dropped the first, and Colonel Paul Tibbets commanded that mission. Not so well known was the B-29 boxcar. That's a BOCKSCAR boxcar, which dropped the second atomic bomb on Nagasaki, and it was commanded by a pilot named Frederick C. Bok. So now we know how. Actually, it was Bok's plane, so that's how it got named Boxcar. It was Bok's aircraft, but for some reason, a pilot named Sweeney was assigned to fly the atomic bomb mission. I don't know why. I might go look it up. But in any case, Charles Sweeney, and he was the one who flew the actual aircraft. So I don't know whether Captain Bok wasn't available, declined the mission for whatever reason. Actually, I'm going to pause and see if I can find that out right away. Well, with a quick lookup, all I could find was that the crews were switched out at the last minute, and Sweeney piloted it, and Bok piloted an aircraft called the Great Artiste. Both aircraft, the Boxcar and Enola Gay, have been preserved, and the Enola Gay is in the National Air and Space Museum, and the Boxcar is in the Air Force, the National Air Force Museum. Alright, so let's take a look inside this Atlantis rebox of a Rebel kit. And the only other Atlantis kit I've had, the 1926 Mac AC truck. Boy, I made a mess of that paint job. Anyways, I was, for quite a while, I was thinking it was irrevocably damaged by my hand. But now I'm starting to think that I can work with it. So I stripped everything down as much as I could, got rid of the old paint, got rid of the old primer, and I'm going to try and start back from scratch. Hopefully I can make it look like a nice brand spanking new truck. If I can't, well, then I'll make it look like a beat up old dog truck. Yeah. Okay, so, oh, look what we got here. We've got a top opening box that has not been taped. Okay, so we've got a top opening box. I'm not expecting a lot from this kit. You know, like I said, 44 parts. One of the things that attracted me was the stand. And I said I was going to talk about the stand, and I'm going to do it now. So, we'll, now this is a nice reclosable bag. Isn't that nice? Look at that. Okay, and Peter Oxley and my British friends will be very familiar with this type of stand. It was, in fact, little metal ring there. Better not lose that. Matchbox used to do these, and you talk to Peter Oxley, and he'll wax regarding. Shoot, it's got a mark there. I'll have to grind that down. Okay, Steve, we're reviewing kits. We're not building kits. There we go. Okay, just can't stand that kind of stuff. So yeah, you know, Peter Oxley will say, and I kind of agree with him, that the swivel stand like this, you know, like it's a ball and socket joint thing. One of the greatest engineering inventions of the 20th century. Such a simple thing. You might say, how could that be? Well, nobody else does it anymore except these guys. And this is very nice. They have, you know, it's like a picture of the world, picture of the globe. You know, it was a transcontinental aircraft. Let me see. Okay, yeah, the range was more than 5,300 miles, and while carrying a 2,000-pound bomb load. So, yeah, truly global. And this has some relief to it underneath. So, a lot can be done with that. That's very interesting. And then this goes into this, and then you could pivot it. You could adjust it to different angles. And here it says Atlantis model is 2018, Long Island, New York. So that's very nice. I mean, Oh, and I paid about $34 and change for this. Shipping was free. So, like I said, you know, I'm not expecting too much, and I got it basically as a shelf sitter, as it were, or a ceiling hanger. Actually, now I'm looking at it, it's not that big, so that's okay with me. So I've got the 172 Lancaster and the 148 Warthog. Both from Revell, so those are plenty big enough. And let's take a look and see what we get here. One bag. Go. I think that's the ball for the stand. Okay, so yeah, so here we are. It's a 1/120 scale. We'll get these clear parts out of the way here. As they say, we got the bubbles. They're blisters, and then we've got the front nose. Perfect. Looks perfect. The panel lines here are scored in, so that'll make for easy painting without masking. I can use my trusty method that way. I don't know if anybody else does that, but I found the tip of an old hobby knife blade, or even a new one, depending on how fine you're working. It's great for making lines and stuff, and running along this way like that. You know, it's not going to work like a brush, but if you scrape it along like that, I've had good results with that. Okay, so we've got that, and I'm going to put this in here with this stuff. Okay, so we got two fuselage halves since we have them out. We've got flash, 1954, Revell. We've got flash. And because of these posts, but it looks like it's going to go together okay. So I'm not concerned about that. And we've got four propellers. This one broke off. This one almost broke off. But everything's intact. There's only a tiny bit of flash to trim. And we've got the rear stabilizer here. Well, this is definitely going to be a weekender for when Steve doesn't feel like doing anything hard. Like Steve does anything hard. But, yeah, we got a couple little pieces here. Little bitsies, itsy bitsies. Itsy bitsy teeny weeny. Anybody remember that? Itsy bitsy teeny weeny yellow polka dot bikini. Ooh. Okay, and so we've got our engine cowls. Again, we've got flash. We've got some pretty rudimentary looking gun turrets. So I guess more than usual, this will be a representation of reality. Yes. A representation of an interpretation of reality. There you go. How about that? Okay, and so yeah, so there you go. Nothing fancy, nothing special there. And it is in silver plastic. So like then back in the day, you could just slap it together with some cement and stick it on the shelf on the stand if you didn't want to paint it or couldn't afford paint or didn't know how to paint. I've got more stand pieces here. Ooh, this is nice. There's going to be some relief there. That's nice. Continents of North and South America. Okay, and we've got the wings. Yeah, oh boy. Okay. Can you see those guys? Can you see these little guys? Can you see that? Whoa, these poor guys. I can't, if I bring them too close, it gets all out of focus. But these poor guys, they must have, in the Pacific, they must have picked up some sort of disease. They've got, you know, things that look like flat mushrooms growing out from their legs and feet. And, anyways, I'm just teasing. Okay, very tiny figures. I've done 172s, and I don't think I need to worry too much about these guys' faces. But for all of it, there's actually some pretty nice detail. The nice detail of the flying suits. And, you know, there's going to be some delicate flash trimming to be done. But looks okay. So, yeah, and who does figures anymore? And, you know, if you're not really going to see them, then I won't bother. But we'll take a look and see. Okay, and then we got, you know, I guess this is the lower part of the wing, or the upper part, one part of the wing. Okay, that's it. How about that? Now, some might also say the aircraft is all silver, so it's going to be a pretty simple paint job. Well, the thing is, the aircraft was all sorts of different colors of silver. It was silver, it was aluminum, it was other particular materials, and so on and so forth. So, you know, it had like like a patchy quality to it, and so not a uniform silver. So, anyways, okay. So let's see. We've got some decals here. I guess for whatever reason, we don't get Boxcar or Enola Gay. But here we go. So I'm assuming this will go on the stand, and having the stand is really nice. I'm so impressed with that. And we've got some various different insignia here, and we've got Fifi or Dauntless Dottie. So, whichever. Don't know why we couldn't have Boxcar or Enola Gay or even the Great Artiste. But, you know, so many of these things are a mystery to me. Excuse me. Alright, and so we get the instructions here. And I'll bring that up close. It's a very nice photograph of how it's supposed to look when it's all done. And it does look very nice. Made in the USA, 2023. A lot better than made other places. And they give you the kit number. Officially licensed by Boeing. They give you information on how to do the decals. Prepare your tools, knife, file, tweezers. Tells you what to do with each of those things. Cement, toothpick, paintbrush, tape, clothespins. Yeah, some very, very handy tips there. And a very good tip here, do not detach parts until you're ready to use them. Parts are numbered to help you find them. Look for the number on tab next to part or on part itself. And we get the usual stuff, fit the parts together beforehand. If you want to stop, finish the assembly step so you're not halfway through. That's also good for perseverance and patience. Paint small parts before detaching from the runner. Start with lighter colors. Scrape off paint where cement is to be applied, etc., etc., etc. Study the assembly drawings, blah, 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 all that stuff. Yada, yada, yada. Okay. And they've added some nice notes in here beyond what was on the side of the box. B-29 has state-of-the-art technology, including a pressurized cabin, analog computer-controlled fire control system that allowed one gunner and a fire control officer to direct the 4 remote machine gun turrets. So the turrets didn't have to have anybody in them. You had the gunner who was in charge of gunning and the fire control officer who told the gunner where to shoot. They put it into the analog computer and it happened. It was also used for photo reconnaissance, tankers, weather ships, sea rescue operations. And it says here more than 20 B-29s remain in static displays, but only 2, Fifi and Doc, still fly. And I understand they go around to various air shows and all that kind of stuff. Alright, so here we are back again. And so here we go. Not expecting any great complexity here. And we start off with the fuselage assembly. And not too detailed, eh? Okay. Well, at least we got numbered parts, which doesn't happen with everybody all the time. And so, yeah, obviously faces are flesh, uniforms olive drab. That's odd. I would have thought they would be more of a blue color, but what do I know? Okay, and then we got black, 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 da-da-da. They give you the paint instructions. It's pretty straightforward. As we saw, there's not a lot of parts. 2A and B are the wing and engine assemblies. No engine detail whatsoever down inside there. Probably just painted something. And yeah, and then we get down to here. That's pretty much it. I mean, here's your fuselage. You've done your figures. You've got your stabilizers on. Wings assembled. It's the standard big slot style. And yeah, as I suspected, you cement the ball mount into the slot on the underside. And then that goes into there, and then that goes into there. So, and it gives you some decaling information. And globe stand assembly instructions. I don't think the Matchbox models needed metal rings, but hey, if that's what they've done and it works, there you go. Yeah, and do not glue. In this way, you can pose it in different. Do you like to pose your airplanes? Okay. And we get to the end. And this is really cool. I would like to be able to see some of these. So yeah, there's quite a few of these around. And might not all be available on Amazon, but then again, Amazon is not the only marketplace. Your local hobby shop can probably pretty much order what you want. This is of interest to me. The Nike Hercules ground-to-air missile. When I lived in the San Francisco Bay Area, on the Marin Headlands up there, they've got they preserved an old Nike missile base, emplacement, whatever you want to call it. And lovely spot, beautiful spot, great view of the city, and great view of anything coming at you. So yeah, Nike missiles, cool. The USAF B-30, is this the 36? Yeah. Yes, the B-36 Peacemaker bomber. And this was, okay, this was the United States Air Force's attempt to bridge the B-29 and the B-52. And it was designed as a long-range nuclear bomber. And there was a movie, I can't remember the name of it. Jimmy Stewart was in it, actually. And anyways, it was all about the Convair B-36 Peacemaker bomber, which never bombed anything, as far as I know, and needed a lot of extra help taking off. So if you're interested in that kind of thing and haven't heard of the B-36 Peacemaker, look it up, check it out. Okay, so after the research break, the film was called Strategic Air Command. And while we're on the subject of James Stewart, he was, even before the war, he was an accomplished flyer. He was a licensed flyer. And he was the first major American movie star to enlist in the United States Army to fight in World War II. His family had deep military roots. Both of his grandfathers had fought in the Civil War. It doesn't say which side or sides. And his father had served both during both the Spanish-American War and World War I. As soon as the war broke out in Britain, he wanted to enlist in November 1940, but he was rejected because of his, he was too skinny, his low weight. But he went ahead, he enlisted in February 1941, and he reported as a private in the Air Corps, March 22nd, 1941. He was almost 33 years old at the time, and so he was over the age limit for aviation cadet training, which was the normal path of commissioning for pilots, navigators, bombardiers, flyers in general. So he applied for an Air Corps commission as both a college graduate and a licensed commercial pilot, which he was granted on January 1st, 1942. After he enlisted, he made no commercial films while he was in the military, but he remained under contract to MGM. His only public appearances were limited to engagements for the Army Air Forces. He was concerned that his celebrity status would relegate him to duties behind the lines, as happened with many celebrities. You know, they were co-opted into the Special Service Corps, the USO, all that kind of stuff, whatever. But after over a year spent training pilots, he appealed to his commander. In November 1943, was sent to England as part of the 703rd Bomb Squadron, flying B-24 Liberators. He was based initially at RAF Tybenham, or Tibbenham, my apologies to my British friends, before moving to RAF Old Buckenham. He was promoted to major following a mission to Ludwigshafen, Germany in January of 1944. He was awarded the Distinguished Flying Cross for actions as deputy commander of the 2nd Bombardment Wing, the French Croix de Guerre with Palm, and the Air Medal with 3 oak leaf clusters. In other words, he was a bona fide hero. He was promoted to full colonel on March 29, 1945, becoming one of the few Americans to ever rise from private to colonel in only 4 years. At the beginning of June 1945, Stewart was the presiding officer of the court-martial of a pilot and navigator who accidentally bombed Zurich, Switzerland. Oops. Doesn't say how that turned out. Oops. Okay, and yeah, he returned after the war, etc., 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 and off we go. So, yeah, James Stewart, one of the finest actors you'll ever find, and one of the greatest gentlemen as well. So if you're not familiar with James Stewart and Jimmy Stewart and his films and his life, check them out. You're about to be entertained, as it were. Okay, so I've digressed here. We've got some very interesting subjects here. The Northrop F-89D Scorpion, which looks to me to be a pursuit fighter aircraft. And the Air Cobra, the B-52, B-25 Mitchell, B-26 Invader, and ooh, this is fun. I wonder if it could be worth it. It looks pretty simple, but a 1/32 scale radial aircraft engine. I'm going to have to keep an eye out for that. Alright, so now we come down to the review of the Atlantis 1/120 scale Boeing B-29 Superfortress. And just a quick review of how I rate a kit. It's 12 points total, 10 standard points, up to 2 points for packaging, up to 2 points for the sprues, up to 3 points for the parts, and up to 3 points for the instructions. Each of those 4 categories can receive a quarter point bonus for any wow factors. And at the end, so that's a potential for 11 points. And at the end, I allow a subjective, well, it's all subjective, but logical, value rating. And I look at value as to how many hours I'm going to get, how much enjoyment am I going to get out of it. Does it look like a decent kit that's not going to frustrate the you-know-what out of me, and etc., etc. Okay, so here, as far as packaging is concerned, very nice box. And I don't know, maybe it's just me. I'm just a bit peeved that they cut this off. But there's only so much space, and you got to do your branding. So, but still, very nice. I like how they have flames coming out the side here. Yeah, I like that. Flames where they're coming out, where they're supposed to be coming out. Okay, and yeah, and they've given, nice details on the paint. Yeah, okay. So, yeah, Amazon crushed it, but I'm giving them a quarter point because they boxed it up in, geez, what do you want? Titanium, so Amazon doesn't wreck it. But anyways, so they did a great job packaging it for shipping, and so they get a quarter point for that. Amazon, Okay, and sprues. Looks like all the parts were there. There was more flash than you would like, so that's a quarter point off. There was one propeller, a couple little pieces broken off, but nothing damaged, warped, or whatever. Decals were just okay. So yeah, that's 1.75. For the parts, the quality of plastic looked good. Detail was okay. Not expecting a lot from that scale. There were no warped or broken parts. Decals and masks decals were adequate. Not spectacular, so I'm giving them full points for that. Instructions, out of 3 points, 2.75. It was great. It would have been 2.5, because the instructions were so rudimentary. But I gave him a quarter for the extra general service and history notes. So 2 3/4 there. So as far as standard points and WoW bonus factor points go, that's a 9.75, and I'm gonna give it a half point for value. 35 bucks. You know, it's like I said, it's probably a weekender. You could probably even do it in a day if you really wanted to. And so, say 6 hours, $35. Do the math. Pretty good value after all. And that's stand. That's stand. Yeah. That actually, that's an extra. That's an extra quarter point. So that takes us up to 2.5, 10.5. Yeah. So yeah, nice little kit. Don't expect too much from it. And, it is what it is. But nice to put together. I expect it'll be nice to put together, and get to test some of your skills, especially with your small painting thingies. And yeah, so it's all walk or crawl, walk, run. But this is a nice little crawl to walker. Yeah. So anyways, yeah. So there we go. Starting around a little bit again. Not sure why, but it happens from time to time. So thanks to everyone for joining me. Thanks to all my subscribers. I think I'm up to 440 now. My goodness. And yeah, so lots of stuff coming down the pipe now. Got some, as I said, there's going to be some kit reveals, after build reviews, new kits coming in, lots of stuff going on here on the channel. All right, so thanks again to everyone. Appreciate your time, and have a great day. Bye now.